Hi guys, welcome to Alt London Podcast. We're going to start again. Guys, we were talking before the podcast started, so we'll start again. Hi guys, welcome to Alt London Podcast. This is actually our last episode of the year. So 2020 finished, wrapped up.
Listen, we're ready to move on to 2021.
We're ready, because this year it's just been, and it's getting progressively worse. So let's just wrap it up.
Yeah,
let's wrap it.
It's moving long.
Sorry,
Ring the alarm.
South London.
I've been through this too long. And I'll be damned if I see another on your arm.
It's so loud. It's so loud. Okay, well, how many months have we been doing this now? When did we start this podcast? March,
it's
April?
May the 5th is the first one.
You remember the date?
So
May
I know.
Okay.
So I think it or 5th or 4th, and so
May the
it's
4th,
been like
or 5th.
I think it was that,
Yeah.
So what is that, like 7 months?
5, 6, 7, wow, 7 months. 7
It's
months.
crazy.
And we started this just as like a lockdown project. We're like, okay, let's just try it. We'll see what happens, and then And then it's just here we are. 7 months.
Yeah,
on.
no, it's been actually a really just necessary journey, and just really like actually just informing journey. I think for both of us.
Definitely.
Just learning so many different things about this, but also each other, which has been really great. So, definitely grateful for all of it, whether it be positive, negative. Like I feel like it's always been just such a good learning curve. So
definitely. And with that said, I've not even introduced us. Right? Okay, so obviously if we
and we have Charlene, and we also have
introduce yourself.
Matt.
It's like some TV presenter, Matt. Yes,
Matt.
So we've got Matt. He's actually called Matthew Knowles, believe it or not. So not Beyonce's father, but they have the same name.
The infamous.
Yeah.
What? So wait a second. Hang on. So you've spent the whole podcast so far giving out no personal details about yourself.
Yeah.
And you say
I just said your full government name.
Within the
That's
first
true.
3
That's
seconds.
true. I'm sorry, the full government name.
That's actually
that's
true.
That is true.
I just got
sorry.
doxed.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's so real.
But at the same time, though, it could be a common name. So, like, how will they know which Matthew Knowles? You know what I mean? So, there's
But Beyonce's only got one dad.
Yeah. Could be wrong. But
I'm so happy that I didn't say that. I could do that later.
I didn't even realise, but yeah. So we've got Matt on. So I won't say the full government name. So we've got Matt on. Forget what I said before. Matt is my boyfriend. I'm sure you guys have heard me mention him before.
My boyfriend.
And like, introduce yourself. Like, I didn't. What can you say? Like,
tell us a bit about yourself, Matt.
Yeah,
so.
Tell us a bit.
Yeah,
I mean, we have questions for you anyway.
We do, but just give yourself a little pizzazz, a little intro, sauce.
Normally, you guys sing your names, don't you? I'm not going to do that. I was worried that I would have to do that, but I'm glad that that moment's gone. I don't know what to say about myself. I like music.
You like Sophia.
I like Sophia. She's cool.
You like Sophia.
Pretty standard guy.
Pretty standard guy.
Pretty standard guy. That's what I'll say. I'll go.
All
with
right,
that.
standard guy.
Why not?
There you go. Fine.
I feel that. Okay. Let's ask you a few questions. So, favorite album of all time, if you can do that.
Oh, that's a tough one.
And why? Or if that is hard, then maybe favorite album of quarantine, should we say?
Yeah. Good question.
Is there something you've been
Good question.
bopping during quarantine? And then why as well, yeah.
That is a tough one. Well, I'll tell you what, we recently started trying to listen to Rolling Stone's top 50 albums.
Okay.
And the other day,
that's a good one.
We listened to number 49, which was Equimini.
As in the magazine, the Rolling Stones magazine, not the band.
Yeah. The Rolling Stones magazine.
Although they could have 50 albums quite easily.
I mean,
they probably could.
They probably do.
Yeah.
You said 49, which was which? Sorry, I didn't hear the name.
It's Equimini by Outkast.
Okay, nice.
And it's not probably my favourite album, but it's really good, and it'd probably be in my top 10, if not top 5.
Remind me, what are the sort of main singles from that album? Like, what are the popular songs?
Return of the G is my favourite track on it.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. And I'm assuming because Outkast, and that's one of their earlier albums, definitely got a bit of funk to it. A bit of, yeah.
It's got Liberation on it.
Yeah, and that's got everyone in it. It's like CeeLo Green, Erykah Badu, who else? There's so many people in that. So, loads of people. It's a great
album. Good. I mean, that's a great album. Everyone go listen to that and help them make £1.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the 900.
We won't be naming what service though, because we don't get sponsored.
No free promo. Hopefully next year, but yeah, you know. So Matt, I probably know what your answer is to this, but like, what's your best holiday that you've been on?
My best holiday? Oh man, this is.
Or best destination you travel to.
For these kind of questions.
Yeah, best
holiday. You don't get asked that often.
I feel like, do you know what, you might not get asked that often, but I think about that so much.
That's why I asked it, because I know that Charlene would be interested in this question. Yeah,
for real, like I was literally going through that.
The one I reminisce about a lot, especially during quarantine, has got to be Amsterdam.
Yeah,
Amsterdam was a great time.
Yeah, perfect hotel.
I heard you had a hilarious time.
We had a wild ride, let's just say that. The stuff out in Amsterdam is very different to the UK, let's just say that.
Yeah, perfect hotel, perfect scenery.
Your hotel was peng though.
It was nice, it was very nice. That's Matt's doing as well. Matt's good at finding the good hotels. He's got a very bourgeois taste as well, so, you know.
Listen, he fits right in.
Yeah.
Extracurriculars, extracurriculars in Amsterdam are always good too though. I feel like everyone's got to go to the red light district just to see it. Like, it's just interesting to see it, and obviously you got to try all the different, you know, dank, we'll say.
Exactly. Is there a we didn't write a third question, but I feel like we should freestyle it.
Okay. Do you have a third question you want to ask? Otherwise. Okay, I was going to say, how would you describe your personal style?
My personal
that's a good
style?
Question.
Oh man,
we were talking about this the other day as well, actually.
How would you describe it? Because I mean, the times where I've seen you,
everyone thought you was like rocker. I think, is that what people said?
I didn't think that when I saw you, but yeah, and obviously pictures and stuff like that, but. How would you describe a personal style? Like, what? I think to put a label to it is quite hard. I mean, like, what even is that? Like, I think anyone that looks at any of us probably would say a hipster, which is just so not true. Like, so like, but as in like, personally, like, what do you like? Do you like simple things, clean cuts? Do you like sort of more classic brands? You know, I know that obviously, you know, Fear, everyone knows Fear, Dr. Martens, like that's what you think about when you think about Fear. So, you know, how would you describe your sort of personal style?
Yeah, I'd say I'm more of I go in more for the classics rather than the kind of the brand of the year, the trend of the week kind of thing. So I'd say kind of classic with a bit of rock and roll, because
you like a lot of Fred Perry.
Yeah, although that's kind of like been co-opted by the Proud Boys in America now, so I don't know if I can really stay on that kind of thing.
Awful. Okay, so you say more classic, clean cut maybe. But with a bit of a rock edge. I feel that.
Well, someone once said to me, sometimes it's good to appear clean cut, even if you're not. And I think there's something to be said for that.
Okay. I think definitely, because when people first look at you, no matter what everyone says, you always look at, you know, judge a book by the cover, so to speak.
Yeah, you do.
So, like, I think actually that's a really good point. Actually, I have a final question for you, which is, so a lot of people won't know this, but you actually did a big chop not too long ago.
Yeah.
What was your motivation? What was your motivation for that?
My motivation was that I think I'm going to say another saying that, even though I just said one. I think there's that kind of thing where it's like, if you love something, set it free. And in a kind of reworking of that, I think if you get too attached to something, it's good to walk away from it for a bit. And with style, if you get too into your own style, it kind of wears you a bit. So I wanted to cut my hair to kind of make sure that it wasn't becoming my identity too much.
Wow. and I wasn't expecting such an introspective answer. I actually really like that, and I can relate as well because I also cut my hair, right?
Yeah, you shaved, yeah.
But like this is like 10 years ago, but yeah, like I think I can relate with that in terms of growing my hair back. The reason why I don't is because I feel like I was like that my whole life up until I cut it, and that's what like typically everyone else around me has. I don't know, it's just a weird thing, but that's so interesting.
Well, it feels great cutting your hair, don't you think?
Absolutely. Like I don't think I could ever grow my hair back, which is scary to think about because I'm only age. So
you're 21, like obviously.
I'm 21.
You're only 46.
46, fuck off.
So yeah, I mean, I just think that it's kind of synonymous with me, and it's not as like people obviously, you know, having like Mohicans is sort of associated with like rock and roll, which I'm so happy to be associated with that. Let me be clear, but that's it's not really. I feel like I've kind of normalized it in a way where like I'm just like it's just a part of me. Like I think I'll have braids, like. So thank you.
I think there's nothing better when Charlene comes with like fresh cut, fresh braids. Like no, it looks sick. It looks so sick. So yeah, man.
Girl, I ain't seen that person in months.
Yeah, no, and actually, I was just thinking about this as well. Like we actually haven't physically seen each other for so long.
Yo, since March.
It's been a long time.
Since March.
So,
flipping out.
Yeah.
Ridiculous, but yeah, it's going to change soon.
So you guys are probably wondering why Matt is on this episode today, and the reason why is because we're discussing interracial relationships. So
interracial relationships.
That's what it is. So if you didn't know, Matt is white, I'm black, which may
sounds so weird.
How else do I say it? Which I mean, like, that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about like the difficulties of being in it, how it's been like being in one, the things that we've learned, how it's been during things like Black Lives Matter and things like that, especially like as I am like so politicized at this stage, and like me and Matt were actually talking about the difference in our relationship, because I wasn't like, as believe it or not, I wasn't as political as I am now when we first started going out. So and this has only been like 5 years that I've been very interested in like my blackness and like just reclaiming myself basically. So yeah, it's only really been like a very recent thing, and like just from entering our relationship to now, it's just two different things.
I think we should highlight as well that you guys have been together for a hot sec. I don't want to put out like years and stuff, but
we can say that.
You guys,
fine.
I didn't want to say it for you kind of thing, but
I don't mind. We've had our 7-year anniversary. When was it? In November. It's been a long time.
Ooh,
it's been a long time. So yeah,
excellent. So obviously in that time though, just to sort of highlight to the audience, like those are like your formative years, like for both of you.
Yeah, definitely.
So naturally in that time, and obviously you guys will speak to this, but like you know you're gonna make so many different changes, like these, like you were literally together in your formative years of life, right? So that in itself is already like a journey, let alone then also this journey of course of being in a relationship full stop, and then the journey of being like in an interracial relationship.
Exactly.
Like it's 3 different things.
Exactly. You know, there's levels to it. Exactly. I would say like when Matt can like speak for himself as well, but when I first entered this relationship, we were both super young, and I didn't really know who I was fully, and I didn't really like care so much about like what was going on in the world. I just cared about what was in my instance. I was like, right, like when's the next party, like when's the next this, when's the next that. I didn't really care. Like that was just my thought process. I didn't care about anything else. But then at the same time I was like, oh, you know, I really want a relationship, like it'll be really nice.
So you wanted a relationship?
Yeah, I was such a romantic at like just my young 20s. I mean, which I am still in. So in my younger years, I was such a romantic. I was like, I just want like the perfect love story, like da. So like, I was like, I was just very simple. Yeah.
What was it like for you entering into relationship? What was it like? What was it like for you entering? I heard a story though, Matt, though, that like, you know, it's just you and me
what
here.
Is the
Thea's not actually here. But like I basically heard that like Afia was like on you.
Oh, yeah,
like, she was like into you. And you were like, just chill, man, like just chill. Like this is what I'm hearing. Can you confirm or deny?
Yeah.
He's trying to be nice. It's
okay.
alright. It's
Yeah,
alright.
I would say Afia was very different back then.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it took us quite a while to kind of probably work each other out, even though there was like some magnetism there. And I think the way that she did that was by wanting to be around me a lot.
Right.
I was like obsessed, like honestly.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what I would say about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my question, so when entering into your like relationship or even starting to get to know each other, I guess at the beginning maybe you weren't thinking about it too much, but when would you say was a point where you realised, okay, we're in an interracial relationship? Like, was there a moment for you where you realised, okay, shit, like I'm black and he's actually white?
I would say,
or
like,
vice versa.
I mean, yeah, Matt, you can take this one first if you want.
Yeah, well, I knew we were different races straight away because obviously you can see. But no, I think we were talking about this other day, like we weren't as politicised at that point. I don't think as well we really had as much of the world's hang-ups
Right. Okay.
placed onto us at that point. So it was quite like a novel and fun thing to be from two different cultures, two different races, and be together. I think it's probably only in the last few years that we acknowledged the deeper side of what that means for our relationship, when probably Afia was kind of wanting things that I couldn't provide because I'm white.
And not to, I don't want to like price off you and you say what you want to say, but like, could you give an example of the type of thing you'd mean when you say that?
Yeah, I think shared experience.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's been really difficult for her this year because I mean, you can kind of, as a white person, you can want to learn and be respectful as much as you can, but whenever you confront something new, you're going to come at it from two different perspectives, and therefore you're going to have different reactions. And so not only has Afia, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, Afia, but from my point of view, it seemed like not only have you been dealing with the upset that's come with the things like George Floyd being killed and an increased prominence of like public discourse around race, you've also had to kind of guide me through that because I've been ignorant at times, still am ignorant of a lot of things, so it's kind of like you couldn't switch off from it because you were dealing with it in your own home as well as dealing with it on social media, in the news, and that's really where the different races thing has affected our relationship.
Yeah, I would certainly agree as well. Like I would say, like in the beginning, and I think it's environmental as well. If we had met in London, it definitely would have been more of a thing than if we had met in Brighton. So yeah, guys, you know that I was in uni in Brighton. So yeah, Brighton, like enough like interracial relationships. There's so many, and like just majority of the people there anyway are white. So if you were like a black person of color, even trying to date, like 9 times out of 10, you're most probably gonna end up with someone who's white because that's just the demographic that's there. So yeah, it definitely was not a thing. It was just more like, yeah, we like each other, like that's it sort of thing. And like, yeah, didn't think of it. And then I wouldn't say, and so Matt went away in 2015. So you went, do you want me to say? Is it that deep if I say it?
Yeah,
No.
I'm not too bothered about like personal information in that.
So you went to Camp America. And it's quite interesting that you went to America while Black Lives Matter firstly kicked off. So he went to America in 2015, which is obviously like when like Ferguson was going on, all that sort of stuff. And up until that point, I hadn't really been like engaged. I obviously like knew like I was black, I was proud to be black, all that sort of stuff. But I never really knew like the levels to like how our struggles were. Like you'd see little microaggressions and you'd be like, okay, like that's one time, like it's whatever. But I didn't realize how deep it was and like just
because we've been conditioned to take it. Like
exactly,
we literally have been conditioned to take it.
Exactly.
And that in itself is already going to be like, you know, an area of disparity between you and Matt, because like even on that level, please Matt, do not take anything I say in a way that's other than just trying
I've said the word,
like,
I've said
explain, like,
don't worry.
but like what I'm saying is like it's like, how would you ever be able to understand that? Like we just have been conditioned in different ways. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I feel like
that's
it's
exactly
important to highlight that.
Exactly.
Sorry, so you said he was in America.
So he was in America. Ferguson had just happened, and I was obviously like on Twitter, and I was just seeing all the stuff. I was like, wait, what's going on? And people were talking about police brutality, the way that black people were treated in general, and then like British people were just treating like, let's not forget about what's happening in the UK as well. Like so much police brutality has happened here. Mark Duggan, like all those sorts of things. Like let's not forget about that. And I was like, oh shit, like this world is fucked up, and it's so fucked up for black people. Or people of colour, but black people in particular. And I was like so angry and just so like, why is nobody talking about this? Like, what the fuck is going on? And then like I was just generally really angry at white people. But then I was like, can I be angry at white people? I've got a partner who's white. Like, is that hypocritical? And then I was just going through this whole like internal conflict. And I was like, wait, no, like we are from two different races. Like our experiences are different. And then like at the time then, I try and explain these things to Matt, and he just wasn't really understanding it or seeing it in the same way as I was. Obviously now it's different, like, you know, there's more reading to have been done, and like, you know,
but to say that though, can we expect that though? Like that's the reality of it.
We can't.
We don't know what it's like to it be in a world where we're not judged, we're not ridiculed, and we're not. So can we expect that of them to actually understand what it's like to be? Sorry, what I mean by is, you know, other races or specifically white people. Like, are we asking for too much? Like, and what? So for me, I feel like in situations like that, you're like, okay, what I would appreciate is just you listening to me, and then not even like just listening to what I'm saying, taking it in, and then just being aware, and you know, being, you know, whatever the case is. But like really, I do feel like sometimes when I look at the things that are happening, especially recently, and you know, again, people, you know, situations like yourselves where they're in interracial relationships and they're struggling to communicate like the struggle, I'm like, well actually, like I don't know if it's really going to be at a point where, you know, someone like a Matt is really gonna know, like, you know, do you see what I mean?
They're not gonna have the answers. This is
right, Matt, you can, I don't know if you want to speak to that, Matt, but like I just don't know, like I'm not trying to say that we should hold you to a lower, or hold white people to like a lower standard. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, like, realistically, when you haven't been through something, you just can't relate to it to a certain level, you know.
No, I mean, the gap is, you can't overstate the gap, and it can never be bridged because everything is different. I mean, after George Floyd was killed, and there was like a kind of a week where everything was about that on social media, on the news, and there was a kind of there was like masses of people, all different kinds of people, coming out and rallying against the officers who did it, and the kind of power structures that enable people to act like that without impunity and all of these kind of things. And I got involved in that as well. And I began to challenge some of the organisations I was a part of, like my workplace, educational establishments that I've been to, things like that. And after a week, I had this like feeling of, I was really anxious and nervy, because it kind of felt like, because I'd called out all of these organisations that I was a part of, I'd made myself a target. And
yeah, that's real.
And it was like a proper weight on my shoulders. And then in that moment, I kind of realised, well, hang on a minute, this weight is probably 1/10 of the weight that black people feel when all the time.
That's real.
And like it was a loss of innocence for me that people go through when they're 10, 11, and their parents sit down and have a talk with them about their race and how they'll be treated differently. And I mean, I'm a white person who's been in an interracial relationship for 7 years. I try and engage with these issues, and it's still taken me to the age of 27 to even catch a kind of glimpse of what somebody else's experience is like in that respect. So there's no way that white people will ever understand the black experience.
And so I think, Joe, and I think that's actually really powerful for you to say, because, you know, as we've sort of, you know, highlighted already, everything's out there is talking about, you know, learning and things like that, and I appreciate that, but I think that people need to manage their expectations a bit more, and I think actually that might help issues a bit more, because I see a lot of frustration from people who are black with like not being understood, and trust me, I feel that frustration too, but I think you have to manage your expectations and understand actually there's going to be certain things that we just can't sort of fix yet until this is like more of like a sort of structural systemic change, you know.
And the thing is, it's not even just, sorry to interrupt you, but like I totally agree with what you're saying, but it's not even just like white people, it's like the internalized racism that has been here for hundreds of years from from within black people ourselves and with white people. Black people have to unlearn this internalized racism. White people, that's just their way of life, and it's everyone's way of life. So to unlearn these behaviors and to actually realize that, oh, actually some of the things I say, some of the things I do are actually problematic, some of these things that I do are actually harmful to black people and are racist. To actually unlearn hundreds and hundreds of years of internalized racism, that's a very hard thing to do. So I totally agree with like having to manage expectations. But something as well is like just important what Matt said as well, is like, you know, he felt quite anxious and like, you know, maybe a bit tired from like having to like call out people and stuff. And I think what white people have to realize that, you know, this is the life and experience that black people face every single day. So if you're tired, I've been tired my whole life, do you know what I mean?
100%.
So like I 100%.
think but I appreciate that he acknowledges that though,
it's true, that's the thing,
but a lot of people are not to that stage yet, you know, so
that's it.
So you know that's a good thing. I want to take you back though. So Matt, obviously you grew up outside London. I'm just being careful because I don't know if you want me to say things or not, so I'll just say you grew up outside London, and so from my understanding you grew up in an area, actually I went there for like a school trip when I was younger. They had like one of those, you know, those like activity
Bognor Regis.
They have those. No, well, Bognor, I have actually been to Bognor Regis, but no, you know, like when you go on school trips, but and you go to and you do like these activity things where like you got like climbing walls.
Oh,
and, like,
yeah.
There was like one of those things where like schools used to go like in that area, I think. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, you grew up outside London, and yeah, from a sort of more Caucasian area. What was it?
Yeah, like
what was it?
White, yeah.
How did that impact you? Because, you know, really, you know, maybe, you know, if you look on the tin, you would think, okay, well, actually, you hadn't really been around culture, like other cultures, sorry. And then obviously now you've ended up with a black woman. So talk to me about that experience, like how, you know, do you think that, I guess do you think that sort of informed or impacted you long term? I guess maybe not, or, you know, yeah, talk to me about that experience.
Yeah, it definitely did. It's just totally different. My life was totally different to what it's like now. I don't think it was better or worse. It was just totally different. And
your school wasn't that diverse though, was it?
No. And I mean, the thing about areas like that is kind of when you get a group of people together, they kind of have a gravity. So it's like people from other cultures that are around an area where it's like mostly white, say.
They stuck together.
I think maybe like because the gravity of the predominant culture is so big, you end up just drawn to that anyway.
I see.
And
that's a really nice way of saying that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's not the right way of putting it, because people.
No, I think that makes sense. Like,
even if there's a small number of people, they still celebrate their culture and are proud of it. But I think probably because I'm white and I was around mostly white people, I didn't look outside my own culture, even though I had the opportunity to.
And so would you say that like people that you grew up with, like for me, so although I grew up in an area which is very, very ethnic, I went to school in like white areas, right? So what I experienced was like ignorance. Some might call it racism. I would call it ignorance, because I wouldn't say they're outwardly racist. But like just things they would say is just like, okay, bitch, that's racist. like oh, like your hair, like no.
Oh, no.
Do you know what I mean? So. But I really feel like it was ignorance, and once they knew Wagwan, like they changed swiftly, kind of thing. Would you say that that's something that was sort of quite common where you grew up as well, or sort of just like ignorance because obviously they just hadn't experienced,
Yeah, ignorance.
Other cultures.
Yeah, ignorance, casual racism. Because there was no one to hold anyone to account either, really.
Right.
And that's kind of it went unchecked, which meant that there was more of it, or it carried on happening, and that's kind of what it was like in the culture I grew up in.
Actually, there was someone famous, I can't remember their name now, but they were telling they're a celebrity and they're from around the Norfolk area. And they were actually saying a story about when their hair was pulled or something like that. I can't remember the story, but yeah, it just made me think of that actually, about things that might be different in certain areas of the UK and how they're done.
Yeah, I'm not from Norfolk though. I'm from Bognor Regis, which is
this is true. On
the south coast. But yeah, I lived in Norfolk for a couple of years, and it was similar. Bognor Regis is a bit busier, and it's more connected because it's a seaside town in the south, not quite the southeast, which is a big overspill from London. It was still connected. It's still kind of part of that big block which London is the centre of, and then spills out into most of the southeast of like the kind of the more metropolitan and connected part of the UK.
I mean, listen, we all went on holiday to Bognor Regis when we were younger, so there has to be some sort of culture there.
I actually never went until I went to Matt's house. I was like, Bognor. I was like, isn't that just what is the place though that
it's Pontins or Butlins.
Butlins.
Yeah.
I was like,
Butlins,
that's what I said to him. That's the first thing I was like, where Butlins is? That's where you're from? Because I thought it was just literally just Butlins. I was like, people don't go to Bognor for like anything else but Butlins.
Butlins slaps. Like Butlins actually slaps. Yeah. People are talking about Centre Parks. That's dead, and it's too expensive. It's too expensive anyway. Butlins slaps. Are you joking? Like Camber Sands. Got Skegness, which that might be Pontins or Butlins, I'm not sure which one, but yeah, they're all live. Okay. That's interesting. Well, that's interesting because it's interesting to hear like sort of how you grew up and how that might have informed you moving. So like how you move now. So I was going to ask a question. So you go.
I was going to say, just to add on to that, it's like quite interesting, like what we said in our episode, like a few episodes back, I think it was the last series even, just the benefit that we had, me and you, Charlene, of like mixing with different people within our area. So like I feel like we were lucky, people in London are lucky for the fact that every culture is around you, and I always find it very problematic if someone is from London and they only have friends, like let's say there's white people from London and they only have white friends. That's very weird to me, because you're so blessed with all these different cultures that like I don't get how you're not interacting with those other people. So I feel like for me, like being in school, it was very lucky, and I was lucky to not gain ignorance from other places because I was friends with like people who are Asian, people who are like African, because like there's all the whole discourse between Africans versus Caribbeans. That was
Caribbeans,
it was such a big thing in school.
We all wanted to be Caribbean when we were younger because
this
no
is
one
it. Everyone was embarrassed. People were like, don't call me
So,
African, I'm Caribbean. Like it was such a thing. But yeah, like mixing with like Africans and being like, oh, like we're family, obviously, like we're the same. Like, do you know what I mean? Learning those things, you don't get that experience when you're outside of London. So we're very blessed to have that. That's just what I want to say about that. So no,
I hear that. Till this day, people tell me I'm Caribbean, which is wild. Anyway, Okay, yeah. So moving from there, then obviously you grew up there, and then you went to university in Brighton, as you said. Like, how was that different? Like, did your surroundings change quite a lot? I know if it's sort of already spoken to the culture and sort of demographic in Brighton, but the reality of it is that Brighton's a lot more of a metropolitan city, I would say.
Yeah, it is, definitely.
So I mean, you know, people travel there quite a lot. I'm not saying that it's culturally diverse, because I don't think it really fully is still, but it's, you know, from my understanding anyway, from my understanding, it might be definitely a bit of a culture shift from like Bognor to Brighton. So how did that impact you?
I don't know if it is that different. I mean, I don't think it's very diverse. I think like living in a place like Brighton, I think you still have the option to engage with people's cultures or not. If you live in London, you don't have the option. It's something that you will be doing. You will be engaging with people of other cultures and people's cultures. But in Brighton, it's not, and therefore it still has, race can still have that kind of novelty factor to white people.
Yeah,
I would say my experiences in Brighton, I think my experiences in Brighton would be like that. I mean, I worked in Brighton for a couple of times, and I was a chugger for a part of my life. And
what's that?
A charity mugger. No, charity fund.
Chugger. I was figuring out, I was like, because I knew what you were saying, but I was like, chugger, yeah.
I like
a charity fundraiser. Yeah. So one of those really annoying people that stop you on the road, like, can I just talk to you for like 2 seconds?
Yeah, can I just grab your attention?
Can I just listen, a cigarette only costs 20p a day. You could save a child's life for that same amount of money.
Please.
Like, that was my pitch, which is terrible, by the way. But yeah, so I worked in Brighton quite a few times, and I would say actually my experience from our team was pretty much all black and Asian, and my experience is that we got like a lot of kickback. I also only saw, as far as like cultural diversity, I only saw us as like we were the only culturally diverse people that I saw all day. You know, I worked there for quite a while actually. And we were like right on like the seafront in the main, I don't know what you call it, but like literally walk down from the station, you're like in the main bit where there's all the shops and stuff.
Oh, Churchill Square. Yeah.
Probably, yeah. And so I don't fuck with Brighton, by the way. Call it controversial.
Please,
I don't. It's a
Pebble.
It's a Pebble Beach.
No,
it's a Pebble Beach.
Yeah, the
and
beach.
But yeah, anyway. So, but yeah, my experience is that like I didn't see really any diversity, to be honest. And also when approaching people, like people were actually a bit more rude than they were like in London. So like my experience, to be honest with you, has not been like super positive. So I actually understand what you mean when you say that you don't think it was super different to Bognor. Matt.
I would agree.
No. It's a weird city, and I think if you're coming from one of the surrounding areas to live in Brighton, like me, like I went to be a music student there, you're probably like me, probably a middle class kid looking for a bit of a playground away from your parents, and that informs the dynamic of Brighton.
Yeah, that's it. Because that was our uni, man. It was just like rich white kids. That is our uni. So like it was a shock for me coming from London, an all black and Asian school, to like Brighton, where it was like spot the black person, and literally I'd be walking down Churchill Square and you see another black person, you point and be like, oh my god, hi, like you just get so excited that you see someone else who's black. Like that is how dire it was back then. When we
I mean, listen, my uni wasn't much better. My uni was actually in London, so
that's actually.
But my uni was like in the hood. It was like Hogwarts in the hood. That's what I call it.
It's so weird that it was like that though. But I mean, I guess people would travel from wherever, don't they? Like come from.
Oh yeah,
over.
We had enough people from Somerset.
Somerset, yes.
A lot of people from Somerset and from Wales, and a lot of people with like P, like everyone sort of came. I don't know if you found that for you guys in Brighton as well. Everyone kind of came to a major city because they were just trying to make it. Like reality is that when you're studying music, like really and truly, like there are a few things you can learn, but you're already a musician, right? So
exactly.
A lot of people move to the city just to get that free student loan and to just try and make it in the industry.
People came to like being, because with our uni, I mean, one of your favourite bands actually, the Kooks, they came
of all time.
So they went to our uni and like they came for the reason that pretty much everyone did, which is to come, get a band, make some music and then leave. So that's what they did. The guy, I think the singer was only there for like 6 months.
Luke
he didn't even
Pritchard.
So he was only there for 6 months and then he left. I mean, that's what everyone was doing at the uni, was get a band and then leave. But going back to what you were saying about how you could just sort of feel the difference. Like there were definitely like loads of microaggressions that I experienced when I was at uni. I remember like one person saying like, we were listening to TLC No Scrubs, and like it was just me and a bunch of white girls, and like one of them was like, oh my god, Afia, like you know the rap part, like come on, like you definitely know the rap part. And I was like, why have I got to know it? And I was and it's just those situations, like so many of those times that all would happen, like people are like, oh my god, your hair, like what, how do you do this? And then they'd come reach for your hair and you're like, no, like, we need to stop. So it would be all that sort of stuff.
But I was going to say, actually, so obviously Matt, being with Afia for so long, and like, when you see those types of microaggressions happen, like one, is it obvious to like identify those? Like, do you understand, this is not in a patronizing way at all, I'm just saying, like, is it obvious that these are like microaggressions? Like how do you react to that? Like, is that something that has sort of become more sort of obvious to you over time? Or
there was that time, do you remember, Matt? I think you know the time I was talking about at the bus stop.
Yeah, I mean, I think they are easy to identify actually, because just immediately the energy changes in a situation when somebody becomes upset by something somebody else has done or said. And I think naturally, like, humans will pick that up. It's just how you react to it, and I think the important thing is to react to it properly. I do remember that time at the bus stop. Yeah, there was a lot of that though. There was a lot of that, like people pigeonholing you into like. I mean, that guy. Basically, we were at a bus stop and this guy started talking to us, and he was like, "Oh, what do you guys do?" And we're like, "Oh, we do music." And he said to Afia, "Oh, do you do reggae or something like that?" Wasn't it?
Yeah.
And he was like, "No, but I like reggae." And obviously, I knew what he had said had been out of order. Afia knew what, felt upset by it, and he knew that he'd upset her. But we all reacted differently. Afia, I mean, you can react how you want. I reacted by just looking at him funny, not really saying very much. And he reacted by saying, "Oh no, but I like reggae."
Right.
So it's like, the reaction has to be right when these things happen. Obviously, we don't want them to happen. And part of education is going to be people understanding that, white people understanding that you shouldn't say things like that. Yeah. Well, just like, I don't know where I'm going with this, but
well, no, I was going to say though, that whilst I agree, obviously that's a microaggression, some people, right, might say, well, no, like maybe he really just thought reggae, right? Now, obviously, it's really hard to not think about the fact that he said reggae because you're black.
Well, yeah.
But what if he really just liked reggae?
Like, I mean, that is true.
I'm not excusing his behaviour by any means.
Who doesn't like reggae?
I'm just saying that, like,
I think you make a good point, but I think you make a good point, but I also think we have to remember where we were. If I was in London, I would have taken that differently, but because I'm in Brighton, I'm one of only like a few black people, I will have to assume that is what you have to meaning by that. So that's why I was taken aback, because we were just sort of talking with this guy. It was like a nice conversation, and as soon as he said that, I was just quiet. I was like, what?
That's the weird thing about it, because he was trying to connect with us.
Yeah, he was really nice.
He was trying to connect with you.
Yeah. And then you say that, and it's like, oh, you just fucking ruined it now.
And it doesn't make sense to say, like, first of all, to make those links is if you mix with people who are, if you're a white person and you mix with black people, then you will realise that just because somebody's black, they don't like reggae or sing reggae.
Or they don't only just do that. They're not limited to that.
Yeah, exactly.
And especially if you're friends with or associated with Miss Afia. Well, I'm not going to say a government name.
But then to say like, oh, it's okay, I like reggae.
Yeah, I'm like,
it's like, well, what's that got to do with
it?
Oh, you like reggae? Oh, okay, no, I get it.
All right.
That's all gravy.
That is it. Yeah, exactly. So,
have there been any other times, Matt, where you've like where you've seen something you thought like, fuck that's mad, like that's
all the
crazy.
time.
I mean,
it happens all the time, doesn't it? Like,
and what's your immediate sort of, I guess your immediate reaction is just to console Afia and make sure she's okay, but like, what do you think we can do? I think you have to keep like calling these things out, right?
Yeah, I mean, probably as I've learnt more about things, I think I try and deal with those things more in the moment and focus on making sure the upset person feels comfortable. And go more after infrastructure and systemic change rather than being committed to policing people's interactions. I'd kind of dedicate that energy towards trying to affect systemic change in society. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and you've been doing that a lot at work as well. He's been like, well, yeah, when Black Lives Matter was kicking off again this year, I know Matt was contacting people within his organisation just saying like, what are you guys going to do about that? How are you going to support your black employers? I mean, you know, which some of us were trying to do and it didn't go well, but you know, he was doing that and they were actually like, okay, they were listening. Matt's been in meetings for months just about this sort of stuff, and that is really, and I know you hate this word, Charlene, but that is really like allyship. And like I know, but put your money where your mouth is, isn't it? Like you guys all post, not you guys, but people are just posting like black squares. You haven't said anything since fucking June, so like what were you actually doing? Like it's just performative. So
I feel like as well though, like a lot of like big one, and I know Matt, obviously we're not gonna say where you work, but the organisation you work for is quite a big one. And so they would be doing not to say that they're not people in the organisation that want to change, or the organisation doesn't want to change. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm just saying that like with an organisation like yours, so obviously like, you know, you have customers and things like that, you know, they'll be doing themselves a big disservice by not, you know, even on like even just, you know, performative do you know what I mean, performative shit. So I mean, I don't know where you're at in terms of like that, you know, this change or whatever, but like my sister's organisation, we spoke about before as well, like she, like they you know, they're a really big organisation, and they've been doing shit like quick action, like
they're very active
and continuous action at that as well, you know. Good. So it's a shame that some of us are not able to.
It's a real shame. It's a real fucking shame.
I think the way to get around that kind of performative thing is just get infrastructure in there that is gonna break apart racial boundaries.
Well,
right, having people.
Because the thing is, right,
colour at different levels as well.
That's it, exactly.
Like, stop the feedback loop of white manager hiring white HR who recruit white people, and the money just keeps flowing around white people.
Exactly.
And like the thing is, if I'm there and somebody says, "Oh, I had this customer on the phone, they're a bit like this, aren't they?" And I go, "No, they're not," and you shouldn't say that, and this is why. If I leave and that person stays, they'll probably still do that. But if I can help create some kind of infrastructure within the company that will stop people being hired, or that will inform people about their ignorance, then I'll leave.
Well.
Yeah, exactly. Then I'll leave, but the infrastructure will still be there to improve the situation.
Yeah, 100%. No, I know you're right. That is the. I mean, that is the longer route, right? That is the longer.
Exactly.
Route,
I mean, at some point, Instagram, Facebook's going to delete all your Instagram stories and your posts, and then what are you going to have to say for?
Facts.
This is to white people, by the way, but what are you going to have to show for what you've done to kind of combat the problem of racism in society? You've put no infrastructure in place to help things.
No, I hear that. I hear that. It's important. It's a long road, but it's important, and it's good to have people like yourself that are just trying to do their thing. Do you know what I mean? So okay.
Oh my god, my voice just. But I also want to say, and this is what I said to Matt as well, I was like, we also don't want to just like, you know, say, I don't want to ever thank white people for doing the bare minimum, because what Matt's doing is what people should just be doing. So I think like don't expect but I just think like I don't think everyone should expect to be like, oh my gosh, like pat on the back. It's just what we all should be doing, and I hope that like eventually people get to that point where we're just doing it. But yeah, there is the learning, like people just don't get it right now, but yeah, I'm really hopeful that in the future we're just going to get to that point where everyone's just doing what they actually just need to be doing, just being a good person, really.
I will say though, for me though, at this stage where we're you know, I'm talking about the resurgence. Obviously, this is been going on for some years now, but since the resurgence in May or June, like at this point, if your behaviour hasn't changed, I'm just taking it as you don't want to.
Yeah,
that's
facts,
how I'm taking it.
Exactly.
You know, and I'm not even taking it personally like that, because the end of the day is what it is. But I'm taking it because I know there's a place where I go and I'm a queen, and that's Sierra Leone.
Right. Yeah.
Bang bang bang, bang bang bang. But so yeah. But you know, people are gonna be people.
Yeah.
Okay, back to your relationship though. So
yes.
Question. So, are there any cons? Like, I mean, we've spoken a lot about race and things like that, but like and I guess it'll be mainly surrounding that, but like, you know, are there, I guess, I'm not speaking about your like personal stuff, but I'm just saying,
it's like race wise,
are there times where you're like, right, like this is long, like
definitely,
like, or like, you know, what and you know, what would you say, like, what are those things where you're just like, no, like, I don't know if this is worth it, kind of thing, like. Well,
going back to what I said earlier, when I said that, obviously more in the past like 5 years, I've really just like learned about like how much we are suffering, black people are suffering, and just like how hard it is anyway. So like that's an issue just for me, just a difference in experiences. And like sometimes like, so if me and you have a conversation, Charlene, like we'll just get it, I'll be like, oh my god, can you believe this? You'll be like, yes, and we'll just be like hyping each other up because we just understand each other, do you know what I mean? So like, because we get it, because we get
I'll probably hype you up into situations that you may not have needed, but it's okay.
Well, I mean, but I mean, like, we get each other, isn't it? And the same with my other black friends. But when I'm telling Matt, he's sort of like maybe trying to come at it from reason. I'm like, but that's not what I need to hear.
Devil's advocate is a demon,
I'm like,
don't ever talk about devil's advocate.
So I'm like, no, but it's not like that. And sometimes I feel tired having to explain. And then I'm like, well, like if I was with someone if I was with a black guy, like, would I have to deal with this? They would just automatically get it. So like those are the things for me personally, like more recently, especially like just since like the recent resurgence of BLM has definitely been something that I think about, and we've had these conversations as well. So like I would say that just shared experiences are just that can be difficult.
Gets a lot. What about you from your perspective, Matt?
Yeah, definitely that. Probably realizing that you might not have the connection that you would like to have, and probably maybe we'll never have that type of connection. It will be different, and it might not necessarily be worse. It might be, I don't know, it might be stronger in some way, but realizing that will be a barrier that will never go away is difficult.
And what actions do you think that one could take though? Because I mean, we've obviously spoken earlier about how at a certain stage it's just like it is going to be very hard for you to actually identify and relate. So at a certain point you just have to be like, okay, I get that we're not going to be the same in the situation, but look, I'm here to support you. But like, what do you think, you know, are ways in which you can kind of overcome that and sort of still move positively, you know, in a relationship? You know, could it be that you really take an interest and interact with like Afia's culture? So we know that Afia's, you know, Bayesian. So like, is it that you're taking more of an interest in that and like doing things that are sort of, just to engage with that a bit more? Like, what is the sort of solution to that?
Is that to both of us or just Matt?
Both of you?
Yeah, I would say like, I don't think that it will ever not be an issue, because like you can get like the wokest white person, like they know everything, they just get it, but then there's still things that they just don't understand. So I don't think there is any way to avoid that. So I think it has to come from like a place of acceptance. So you can either you can choose to just be like, okay, look, I'm going to be with someone who's not of my race. I'm going to be with someone who's white. So I either have to accept that they're actually not going to understand everything, which is either that's going to be totally fine for you, or either no, and you actually know like it's not going to work for me. Maybe I do just want to be with someone who is of the same race and has the same shared experiences as me. So I don't have to explain myself. So that's personally what I think. I think you either accept or. And it's
interesting you say that, because the reality of it is that in our lifetime, sorry to interrupt you there, but the reality is that in our lifetime, we're probably not going to see the big change.
This is it.
So I think I think for someone in our position where the change is going to take a while, like we're probably going to we might see the benefits of what we're doing now, maybe towards the end of our right. So the point is that that's an interesting thing to think about as well, because actually, you know, these are still, you know, when these things happen, which I'm really sad to say that unfortunately they're going to continue to at this stage, and you're going to go through a lot of emotional and mental strife, then it's like, okay, right, like you kind of already have an idea of like what it's like, or the environment, if you like, sort of what you spoke to earlier, because obviously we've been through this already. So it's that's for me, it's like a whole like another like, okay, right, like actually can I do this?
Exactly that.
But yeah, from your perspective, Matt, like what are you saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because like for me, I'm on my own sort of journey with this. I don't really know what I'm doing, to be honest with you.
But that's good to say though.
Yeah,
that's absolutely fine to say.
And
I wish more people said that.
Yeah, I just try and listen as much as possible, raise people's voices, and that's something really valuable. I'm really glad that I've learned to do that, and I've learned to pass that message on to other white people as well. And I just hope that each time things come up or a fear needs something from me, I will have the courage to do the right thing, be on the right side, and to help.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay, well, yeah, I think it's interesting. I think that's a good stance, and I think to say as well, like there are some wrong answers in this situation, but there are also a lot of like right answers, right? So I don't want to say there's no wrong answers, because there is some wrong answers, but I think that everything said, Matt, just it seems like, well, not seems like, I know that, you know, there's just a willingness and an actual effort. I think that's what we're missing from a lot of people. They just don't give a fuck, right? So like, sorry,
I was gonna say, sorry, I keep
go.
No, I was gonna say, like, just what you're saying, it's so true, because I've seen like so many. There was this girl that I was speaking to, and she was also in an interracial relationship, so the same way around. She's black, and then her partner is white, and I was actually having a conversation with her partner. We were talking about race. We were talking about just how the hiring process works, and I said it does benefit white people. He was like, that's just not true. It's just not true. And it was so like startling to me. I was like, wait, like you're going out with someone who is black. And you're not seeing like the injustice that black people do face when it comes to hiring processes. And to me, that was mind blowing. So I think there was definitely.
What was his reason for saying that it wasn't?
He was like, you're obviously people just hired on their ability, like, you know, like it's nothing to do with race. It was that, you know, just a typical response. And I was like, I don't think that's true. And then
do you know that my parents had to give me a British name to give me a better chance in life?
Charlene, like, I'm telling you, no one else has to do that. Black people have to do these things. Right. So for me, that was concerning, and I see a lot of.
I have a racially ambiguous name for a reason.
Yeah. And like I see a lot of people in interracial relationship, and they've got some problematic ass partners, and it's like, do you know what I mean? Like, not obviously, like I'm not saying like, you know, I'm not trying to like buoy you off, Matt. I'm not trying to say like you're like, you know, almighty or whatever and like perfect and all that sort of stuff. But I'm just saying that there's not. No. But I'm just saying there's people who are in like some mad situations, and it blows my mind. But yeah, that's just what I want to say, on just to tag on to what you were saying.
I think I would struggle. So, you know, as our last podcast guest pointed out, I'm single. That was so weird. And like, although like, you know, I would say that I think I would struggle. I'll be honest with you. I would struggle. Yeah. From little things though, like things that are really not important, because obviously it's really about, you know, the character, you know, the value of their character, and also just to ensure that they're, you know, a good human being. But just little things that I just don't think I don't know. I think I would find it quite hard to be, if I'm going to be really honest, to date. Sorry, outside of my race. Yeah. I think I'm not opposed to it by any means. I just think I'd find it quite hard.
No, but I get it though. I think this leads us on to the conversation of like black love. There's a topic before this, and I will get into that. But like black love, because like this is another like dilemma that I face myself. So it's like people are so much like, can you be, because obviously, you know, I've got very strong views and I'm very pro-black, and people are like, can you be pro-black if you don't have a black partner? And I think about, what does that mean for me? I get it when people are saying like, you can't be, like, because, you know, you want to give money to black people, you want to have a black partner, you want to have a black child, all that sort of stuff, keep it black. So I totally understand the stance there, but I feel like, I don't know, it's very like conflicting for me, and it's something that I definitely do
but
struggle with.
Do you think that it was informed by your previous, do you think that was informed by your previous sort of mindset?
Exactly, and we should get into that now. So I would say it's definitely been a very complex one for me, because when I originally started, so this is when I was 13, 14, and I do remember because I do remember times when I was younger, I used to be attracted to all sorts of people, but then it definitely narrowed down to just white men. Which is I think is so problematic now looking back, but at the time I feel there were so many, because I think, what was the reason for that? Why was I only attracted to white guys? And I think the reason for that is just really because I didn't have positive black male representation in my life. I've spoken about my issues with my dad before, let's not get too deep, but I didn't really we didn't interact like that when I was younger. And just generally in school, I remember there were times, I think I one black guy at school, and then he might have liked me back or something like that, but then he started going out. It was a colourist thing in my school, so if you weren't mixed race, if you weren't super pretty mixed race, the guys were not going for you, so black girls just left, dark skinned black girls just left to the corner. So from then I was sort of wow, a black guy's just like this, okay, I'm not trying to fuck with them.
And the mad thing is, you're not even dark skinned.
No, this is the thing, I'm not even exactly. But that's just how it was in my school. So I'm thinking, thinking back, I'm that must have been another reason. And then I think another reason as well is the fact that the music that I listened to as well, that would generally put off a lot of people who were not white. So white guys in my school were listening to the same shit I was listening to. So we've spoken about this in our other podcast. I was very much into alternative music, moving through my emo phase. So all the guys that I would be attracting would be white guys. And I think it could have been problematic from their end as well. Black girl into rock. Oh yeah, I've never been with a black girl. It could be that sort of thing. But I think that was another aspect of it as well. There was so many layers to it, and then let's actually talk about that. So I think that, and actually I'd be interested to hear Matt, if you had any thoughts on that as well. Because it can be difficult, and it just shows you how impressionable we are when we are younger. This also speaks to the fact that I think it's quite sad, to be honest.
Absolutely. I think it speaks to the fact as well that it's no secret that unfortunately in the black community we have a lot more sort of broken homes. So that is going to impact a lot of children. At the place where I work, how do I make it sound like it's not obvious? At the place where basically I work with a lot of people who are
so fake.
Who are from
it has to be. We're not trying to get sued, so
you work with a lot of people.
I'm from an organisation. What did you say? Organisation. Yeah.
Sounds like you're a spy or something.
An establishment, I said.
An establishment, yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of people though that are from broken homes, right? And the area that I work in is quote unquote multicultural. So to see the impact of that long term actually has been really interesting for me. And so I say that to say that I think that we need to realise as a community that we need to do better. I really feel that way, because and that's again just from a standpoint of mentality and things like that. But I'm honestly, when we had this conversation about what you just said, it saddened me a lot.
It is sad.
It saddened me a lot because I'm all for everyone dating whomever they want to, regardless of race. But it's just sad to me that you literally counted black men out because of your experiences. That's really, it's heartbreaking. That's heartbreaking. And
it's absolutely true. And I think what you said, we need to do better. And for me, doing better was going back and unpacking those issues. And I mean, guys, thankfully I'm not in that sort of mindset anymore, and I've been able to address those issues and be like, well, what's the reason I had such a negative experience with black men that I was just so put off? And then as I got older, so I would say 22, early 20s, I would just start being okay, this is ridiculous. And the thing is, I'd always be attracted to black guys, but I was just I would never date them. No, it's gonna turn out bad. It's gonna be like how it was with my dad. So I was always attracted to them, but I just wouldn't actually go out and date them. But I mean, my mindset is just not like that anymore, and I'm very thankful for that. So
did you ever share that with Matt? When you started dating, out of interest?
Yeah.
And Matt, what was your thoughts on that? Did you find that interesting? Did you find it?
I don't know. I have a hard time really blaming anyone for their actions or anything like that, because I think society kind of makes people do stuff like that.
I have to admit, like
sorry, the sirens, guys.
You're
I'm not a big one for like, I'll be totally honest, I'm not a big one for like necessarily blaming people for their actions too much. I do think like our kind of free will is limited a bit by our upbringing and what we've seen.
Right. No, I can understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the first person that I've like, you know, actually spoken with that's said anything like that to me, and so it was really interesting for me hearing that and trying to understand like where you're coming from.
I think for me as well, like, sorry to interrupt you, I think for me as well, like it was quite an embarrassing thing to me. I think you actually, Charlene, are the first person that I've ever actually admitted that to you out loud, because I would think these things and I was like, I could never say that, it's too embarrassing. And especially moving back to London now, where I'm mixing with more, because obviously back in Brighton I only had like, there was me and another black girl. We were the only black girl out of our group of white friends. So coming back to London, I was now like making back with my old friends. So all my old friends are like black and Asian, and then obviously I was mixing with you now, and then the other girls that we met who were black as well. So like meeting you guys, and then like you guys are like, no, like we like black men sort of thing. So for me, I was like, oh my god, I could never say like how I ever used to feel. Like I was so embarrassed. No, I was like so embarrassed. I was like, I could never say that. Like, how could you ever admit to such a thing? But I think it's like you have to be honest with yourself at a stage and realize that this was problematic, and like, why did I think this way? Like, you have to unlearn this. It's just not healthy to believe that way, to think that way, and I'm very glad that I'm out of that sort of mindset, and that's how I've been able to let go. Oh my gosh, I hit my glasses on the did you hear that? Sorry. And that's how I've been able to like just let go of those sorts of feelings, and like I'm glad I'm not shackled to all that shit anymore. So
that's really interesting, and I think that's a really important journey. And so for anyone that might be just struggling with just the way they feel, like, it is really important to like try and unpack that and just really dig deeper, you know, by means of just doing that yourself, maybe seeking additional help or whatever, speaking to someone that you trust, whatever your method is. Like, but also, I think it's good to try and understand, you know, what how is it I've come to this feeling, and try and just really unpack it and let go of it. Actually,
and there's definitely, and it's another thing as well about loving your blackness. Loving your blackness also means loving all of your people. Do you know what I mean? So like that is something that's also very hard growing up in, as if you're a young girl and you're being told you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you should look this way, you should look that way. That's another thing as well that I think was like linked with it as well. Not loving my blackness, not wanting to be so associated with that, and then growing up and like learning to love myself, you know, figuring out yourself, knowing yourself more, and then you can accept all of those things, and then it just comes easy, I feel like. So
I'll be honest, like we touched upon this earlier, the struggle for me is that like when it comes to like Christmas Day and stuff like that, I can't like you want the black food in it, like you want the culture I
food.
need jollof rice. And the reality of it is that, you know, I don't know. Listen, I'm not counting anyone out. I could also make the jollof rice, to be fair, but like we have
the culture's like, important.
On Christmas Day I can't eat cranberry sauce. I don't like it.
No, you like,
but that's not.
Sauce,
but that's not assuming that everyone, you know, is. But it's just for little things like that. And for me, just trying to explain things. I think for me, I'm actually a very impatient person. So that's not a good trait, by the way. And it's not an excuse by any means. But for me, I think I would struggle, like, especially, you know, listening to both of your experiences, you know, especially during situations like the BLM. I think I would really struggle. Like, I think I would really, really struggle. Like, you know, we heard, you know, on the last episode, my best friend who is an Asian guy, but he like is so fucking clued up. Like, it's, you know, it's mad. Like, and he went to a school which was super multicultural. And the establishment at which we met was very multicultural. But it's really food for thought though, man. It's really food for thought. It's food for thought. Yeah, mad. I feel like that's it really. I feel like it's been a very interesting conversation though, for sure.
It has. It's been
Matt,
very honest.
How are you feeling, Matt?
I feel okay. I don't know. I don't know. This is the first time that I've broadcasted That's the word, isn't it? So
broadcasted. Okay.
Yeah. So
Especially
that's been
something
fun.
so personal. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, conversations like this don't really happen in my life that much. It's not like a format that I'm used to. Being the only white person and being asked questions about my perspective and trying to give honest answers without saying what you think is right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's all just new territory and yeah. But I really like this podcast. And
thank you.
I
No bias.
yeah, no bias. And yeah, I like things like this because it's an infrastructural change, isn't it? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but an important thing is that there are spaces and voices being amplified that aren't white more, and that will help white people gain a better understanding of how they're perpetuating racism in society. And for me, I've learned a lot of things from listening to this podcast.
That's good.
Not even like tangible things that I can even sum up. Just it's nice to be party to a conversation that you wouldn't normally be party to, and you can learn a lot from it.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, yo.
And you guys
appreciate that. And
you put a lot out there. I mean, you don't put any of your personal details out there, which I like the personal stuff that you guys say most. Like I really like the uni episodes where you talk about things that you went through at uni and stuff like that. I think that's really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're doing this for a reason that I really respect. So
Thanks.
appreciate that, man. I feel like there's not enough alternative, in quotation marks, whatever that means anymore, but alternative black women or black people out there right now who like different shit. So no, I really appreciate that, Matt, a lot. And thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
You are welcome back anytime.
Yes. Last guest of the year though. Last guest of the year. We've had
last guest of the year though. Yeah.
So
I like the idea of being like a Christmas guest. Like, I hope this is a Christmas guest.
Christmas guest.
It's always been my dream to be on a Christmas special. And I think I've done it.
There you go.
Oh yeah, I'm so glad we could help you fulfill that dream.
There you go. And I'm sure Charlene's
That
happy
is-
about that because Charlene loves Off Christmas. If you guys
I
know,
love Christmas.
Do you love Christmas?
no, but like Matt, in the place that we work, like she's putting on music from November, Christmas music from November. I'm like, so we love Christmas.
What's your favourite Christmas song, everyone?
Right, so it's different categories. So
the way
in
you're
terms of
preparing
like,
for it.
okay, so I'm sorry, like the Black Christmas songs. Listen,
Yes,
oh my day, I was
yes,
actually gonna
yes,
message you
Donny
about this
Hathaway.
yesterday.
Yeah.
No.
Which
Listen,
one?
I heard yesterday, City High. He did. What would you do if someone's at home?
Yeah.
They did a version of "Oh Come All You Faithful," which is actually emotional. Like honestly, it is so good. So that is my new favorite Christmas song from like my black peoples.
Can
then
you
like
send it send me that.
I absolutely send it to you. And then but like traditional Christmas songs, absolutely Shakin' Stevens, Merry Christmas Everyone. Like that's my favorite song of all time. I'll listen to it 100 times in a row. And then in terms of carols,
You got like the selection of different items.
In terms of carols, it's very gentle and there's nothing to this. I don't know what it's called. Jesus Christ, I'll say. Yeah, thank you very much, Matt. What about yourselves? What are your favourite Christmas songs?
I've only got one. I was gonna. No, actually, no. I like I'm dreaming. I love
Yes.
that. And also,
classic.
I love the Donny Hathaway of dun, 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 dun. Yeah, this Christmas. That is Donny Hathaway just generally and then Christmas on. Yeah, that is the one for me. That's mine.
What about you, Matt?
These days, for the past few years, it's been Boney M.
What's that song?
Okay.
Wait, what song is
Mary's? That one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah,
It's called Mary's Spoiled Child.
Yeah.
Banger,
Good song.
banger.
Yeah. Yes.
Banger.
Good tunes. Well, guys, if you celebrate Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And if you don't, Happy Holidays. That's so American,
Happy
but
holidays.
like, Happy Holidays.
Happy holidays.
And yeah, that's us for the year, innit? 2020
Yes.
lock off.
We've
2020
got more heat coming for you.
more heat.
Just to say,
We
more
have.
heat coming for you.
I'm gonna give you a
Keep listening
clue.
to our
Wait,
playlist.
tink 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 tink. I'm gonna shine a frame of me. Yes, I can. That's the cue for who would be coming. Actually, it's not gonna be the artist, but someone associated to the artist. If you can figure out who it is.
Yes.
So
We've got more heat coming for you.
no, it don't. Someone associated.
That's what
Yeah,
people
we've got
are
more
going to
heat.
think.
Well, I mean, tune in next if you want to hear who it is. You got to tune in it. So
If you want to hear, you got to hear
That's
what it is.
the
Yeah,
teaser.
but we've got more heat coming for you. Thanks for supporting us so much. Last episode got to 200 listens. That's a madness.
Mad.
Get this one to 300 and we will send you a 10p coin. And then you have to be realistic here, Fia.
Yeah,
ain't
we
got P.
do.
I ain't got P.
I mean, yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for your support there. And yeah.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next year. Take care. Bye.
Bye.